The ship floated alone in the darkness of space. It had been there for a very long time. No lights blinked on its surface. No engines hummed with power. It was just a dead piece of metal, slowly turning in the endless black. Captain Venn stood on the bridge of his salvage vessel, the Talon's grip. His 4 eyes studied the scanner screen. The readings showed something interesting ahead. "Captain, we have a contact," said Rick, his engineer. Rick was young for a Zelkari, his scales still bright green. "It's a derelict ship. Old. Very old." Venn's mandibles clicked together. In the salvage business, old ships meant money. Their metal could be melted down. Their parts could be sold. Even broken ships had value. "How old?" Venn asked. Rick tapped his controls. Numbers appeared on the screen. His eyes went wide. 300 years, Captain." "Maybe more. The design is primitive. I think it's human." The other crew members looked up. Human ships from that era were rare. Most had been destroyed or upgraded long ago. Finding one intact was like finding treasure. "Scan it completely," Venn ordered. "I want to know everything before we board." The Talon's grip moved closer. Its powerful scanners swept across the derelict ship. The vessel was small, maybe 50 meters long. Its hull was covered in scars from tiny meteorites. Parts of it were bent and twisted. The name on the side was almost impossible to read, worn away by centuries of cosmic dust. "The reactor is cold," Rick reported. "No power signature, no life support, no signs of anyone alive inside." Venn nodded. This was normal. Ships this old never had anyone living on them. The crew would have died long ago, or escaped in pods, or, well, it didn't matter now. "What about the cargo?" Venn asked. Cargo was important. Sometimes old ships carried valuable materials. Rick frowned at his screen. "That's strange, Captain. There's almost no cargo space, but there's a huge fuel reservoir. It takes up half the ship." "How much fuel is left?" "I don't know, sir. The reservoir is sealed. My scanners can't penetrate it." Venn's interest grew. A sealed reservoir might contain rare fuel. Rare fuel meant good money. "Prepare a boarding team. We're going inside." 20 minutes later, Rick floated through the airlock into the dead ship. His suit lights cut through the darkness. 3 other Zelkari followed him, their tools ready. The inside of the ship was a mess. Dust covered everything. Wires hung from the ceiling like dead vines. Computer screens were cracked and dark. The air had leaked out long ago, leaving only vacuum. "Careful," Rick said over the radio. "These old human ships used strange metals. Some of them become brittle with age." They moved through the corridor slowly. Everything looked primitive. The controls were manual switches and buttons. The walls had actual bolts instead of molecular welds. It was like stepping back in time. "Humans really traveled in these things?" one crew member asked. "How did they survive?" "They were desperate," Rick said. "When they joined the galactic community, they were far behind everyone else. Their technology was crude, but they tried anyway." They reached the engineering section, and there it was, the fuel reservoir. It was enormous. The reservoir took up the entire back half of the ship, a massive cylinder that stretched from floor to ceiling. But something was wrong. Rick moved closer and touched the surface. It wasn't metal. It wasn't ceramic. It wasn't any material he recognized. The surface was completely smooth, like glass, but his scanner said it was denser than neutronium. "What is this made of?" he whispered. He tried to cut it with his plasma torch. Nothing happened. The material didn't even get warm. He tried a molecular saw. Still nothing, not even a scratch. "Captain," Rick called over the radio, "you need to see this." Back on the Talon's grip, Venn studied the images Rick sent. He had been in the salvage business for 40 years. He had seen thousands of ships, but he had never seen a material like this. "Can you access the fuel inside?" Ven asked. No, sir, we can't cut it. We can't drill it. We can't even scan through it properly. Ven thought for a moment. What about the ship's computers? Can you access the logs? I'll try, Captain. Rick moved to the bridge of the derelict ship. He found the main computer core and connected his portable power supply. The ancient system flickered to life, struggling to work after centuries of sleep. I'm getting something, Rick said. The logs are corrupted, but... Wait. He worked on the computer for several minutes, recovering bits of data. Most of it was unreadable. But then something appeared on his screen. A final log entry, dated over 300 years ago. Rick read it carefully. Then he read it again. His scales turned pale. Captain, he said slowly, you really need to come here. What does it say? Rick's voice shook. It says the reservoir is still full. It says the fuel inside is still active. And it says... He paused. It says if we open it wrong, we'll destroy everything within 100,000 kilometers. Silence filled the radio channel. Then Ven spoke, his voice very quiet. How full? Completely full, Captain. After 300 years, it hasn't lost a single drop. On the derelict ship, something changed. Deep inside the impossible reservoir, a tiny light began to glow. It pulsed once, very slowly, like a heartbeat. The ancient systems registered the pulse. Power flowed through circuits that had been dead for centuries. In the darkness, a single word appeared on a cracked computer screen. Active, Rick saw it and felt his blood run cold. Whatever was inside that reservoir was waking up. Captain Ven made his decision quickly. Seal the airlock. Everyone back to the Talon's grip. Now. Rick and his team didn't argue. They moved fast, floating through the dead corridors back to their ship. Within minutes, they had disconnected and pulled away from the derelict vessel. What do we do now, Captain? Rick asked. Ven stared at the old human ship on his screen. It just floated there, silent and dark. But now he knew something was alive inside it. Something that had waited 300 years. We take it to Station Corvallis, Ven said. Let the scientists figure it out. This is beyond salvage work. The station authorities will want to study it, Rick said. We might lose our claim. Better to lose money than lose our lives, Ven replied. Connect a tow cable. We're bringing it in. Station Corvallis hung in space like a huge metal flower. Ships came and went from its docking arms. Inside, thousands of beings from dozens of species lived and worked. It was a place of trade, research, and rest for travelers. When the Talon's grip arrived with its strange cargo, word spread quickly. Scientists came from all over the station. Everyone wanted to see the ancient human ship with its mysterious reservoir. They moved it into a special research bay, a huge room with thick walls designed to contain dangerous materials. Security drones floated around it, watching for any problems. Dr. Thalen arrived first. He was a Corvani scientist, tall and thin with silver skin. He specialized in old technology. When he saw the reservoir readings, his 3 hearts beat faster. This is impossible, he said, studying the data. No fuel stays active for 3 centuries. It breaks down. It becomes inert. This violates basic physics. More scientists arrived. They brought equipment, scanners, analyzers, testing probes. They tried everything to understand the reservoir's material. Nothing worked. It's not metal, said one scientist. It's not ceramic, said another. It's not even matter as we understand it, said Dr. Thalen. They took samples from other parts of the ship. The hull was ordinary steel titanium alloy, primitive but recognizable. The engines were crude fusion drives. The computers were ancient and simple. Everything about the ship was normal, except the reservoir. Why would humans build such an advanced containment system on such a primitive ship? Asked a young researcher. It makes no sense. Dr. Thalen shook his head. Maybe they didn't understand what they were building. Early humans tried many dangerous experiments. Most failed. 3 days later, a human arrived at the station. Dr. Elena Shale was a xeno-engineer, someone who studied alien technology and adapted it for human use. She was in her 40s, with tired eyes and gray streaks in her dark hair. She had been traveling nearby when she heard about the discovery. "Another old Earth ship," she muttered, walking into the research bay. "Probably just scrap with delusions of—" She stopped. She saw the reservoir through the observation window. She saw the readings on the screens. Her face went white. "Where did you find this?" she asked quietly. "The Outer Vale salvage yards," Ven told her. "Why? Do you recognize it?" Dr. Shale moved closer to the screens. Her hands shook as she touched the controls, bringing up the material composition data. She stared at the atomic signatures. The numbers seemed to mean something to her. "Oh, no," she whispered. "Oh, no, no, no." "What is it?" Dr. Thalen asked. Dr. Shale turned to face them. "This is a Prometheus Initiative containment system." Silence filled the room. No one recognized the name. "I need to access Earth's classified archives," Dr. Shale said. "Right now." 1 hour later, they gathered in a secure conference room. Dr. Shale had pulled up files that were over 300 years old. Most were marked with red warning symbols. "The Prometheus Initiative," she began, "was a secret Earth project from our early expansion era. We had just joined the galactic community. We had fusion drives and basic FTL, but we were decades behind everyone else." She brought up images of scientists and laboratories. "We were desperate. Other species had faster ships, better weapons, more efficient everything. So some human scientists decided to take risks. Big risks." "What kind of risks?" Ven asked. "They tried to access zero-point energy," Dr. Shale said. "Energy from the fabric of space itself. Most species said it was impossible. The mathematics didn't work. The containment requirements were absurd. But humans, we didn't listen." She showed them equations. To the non-humans in the room, they looked like madness. Even Dr. Thalen, who understood advanced physics, shook his head. "They built 6 prototype ships," Dr. Shale continued. 6 attempts to create a zero-point fuel system. The first 3 exploded during testing. Everyone on board died instantly. The 4th made it to space but vanished. The 5th and 6th—" She paused. "The 5th and 6th were reported lost with all hands. The project was shut down. All data was classified." "Why?" asked Rick. "Because it was too dangerous," Dr. Shale said. "The scientists estimated that if a full reservoir lost containment, it would release enough energy to destroy a planet." The room went very quiet. "This ship," Dr. Shale said, pointing at the image on the screen, "is either the 5th or 6th prototype. It's been out there for 300 years, and according to your scans, the reservoir is still full and active." Dr. Thalen stood up. "We need to evacuate the station, now." "Wait," Dr. Shale said. "If it was going to explode, it would have done so already. Something is keeping it stable. The containment is holding." "For how long?" Ven demanded. Dr. Shale looked at the readings again. She saw the slow pulse, the gentle rhythm of something alive inside that impossible material. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I think we need to access the ship's logs, the complete logs. Because whoever built this didn't fail, they succeeded, and they left it out there for someone to find." "Why?" asked Rick. Dr. Shale smiled sadly. "Because humans always believed someone would be smart enough to figure it out, even if we couldn't." That night, while the station debated what to do, Dr. Shale sat alone in the research bay. She looked at the old human ship through the window. Somewhere inside, 300-year-old systems were waking up. She wondered what the original crew had been thinking. Had they known they were going to die? Had they been afraid? Or had they been hopeful, believing that someday someone would understand what they had created? The reservoir pulsed again, slow and steady. like a heartbeat, like something waiting to be born. The morning brought chaos to Station Corvallis. Station Commander Breck called an emergency meeting. His office was crowded with scientists, security officers, and worried station officials. Everyone had opinions. Everyone was afraid. "We should push it into the nearest star," said Security Chief Mara. She was a Thex warrior, practical and direct. "Destroy it before it destroys us." "No!" Dr. Shale stood up. "You don't understand what this is. If this technology works, it could change everything. 1 kilogram of this fuel could power a city for years, maybe decades. Or it could explode and kill everyone on this station," Mara shot back. Commander Breck raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Shale, can you open this reservoir safely?" I don't know," she admitted. "I need help. I need someone who actually worked on the Prometheus initiative." "They're all dead," said Dr. Thalen. "The project ended 300 years ago." Dr. Shale shook her head. "Not all of them. I found one name in the archives, Dr. Marcus Chen. He was young when the project ended, just a student assistant. If he's still alive, he would be..." She calculated quickly. "About 340 years old." The room went quiet. Humans didn't usually live that long. "Check the records," Commander Breck ordered. An assistant worked on a computer. After a moment, he looked up, surprised. "Dr. Marcus Chen, currently living on Earth, age 338, he's still alive." "Get him here," Dr. Shale said. "Fast." Dr. Marcus Chen arrived 5 days later. He was old, very old. His body was thin and bent. His skin was wrinkled like old paper. He moved slowly, using a walking stick that hummed with anti-gravity assistance. But his eyes were sharp and clear. When he saw the ship through the observation window, he stopped walking. His hand gripped his walking stick so hard it shook. "I thought they were all gone," he whispered. "I thought they destroyed them all." Dr. Shale stood beside him. "You worked on this?" "I was just a boy," Chen said. His voice was soft, distant with memory. 23 years old. I thought I was going to change the world." He laughed, but it was a sad sound. "Instead, I helped kill people." "What happened?" Chen stared at the ship. "We were so arrogant, so foolish. We thought we could control forces we barely understood. The first 3 ships exploded during tests. 60 people died. The 4th vanished, probably torn apart in dimensional space. The 5th and 6th launched successfully, but we lost contact with both within a week." "We found the 6th, Dr. Shale said gently. "Or maybe the 5th. We don't know which one." "It doesn't matter," Chen said. "The crew is dead either way." He was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "The reservoir?" "Still full, still active, still stable after 300 years. Chen's eyes widened. That's impossible." "I know." "Then maybe..." Chen's voice grew stronger. "Maybe they didn't fail. Maybe they succeeded." Over the next 3 days, Dr. Chen and Dr. Shale worked together. They studied the reservoir from every angle. They recovered more data from the ship's corrupted logs. They argued about theories and calculations. Meanwhile, the station authorities debated. Some wanted to destroy the ship. Others wanted to claim the technology. Messages flew back and forth between Station Corvallis and various galactic governments. Captain Venn watched it all with frustration. "It was my salvage claim," he complained to Rick. "Now everyone wants a piece." "At least we're still alive, Captain," Rick said. "That's worth something." On the 7th day, Dr. Chen called a meeting. "We're ready to try," he announced. Commander Breck looked skeptical. "Try what?" "To access the reservoir," Chen said. "Safely." "How do you know it will be safe?" Mara demanded. "I don't," Chen admitted. "But we've studied the containment system. It's not a physical container. It's a quantum-locked stasis field frozen into solid form. The original crew designed it to be opened in a specific way." "And if you're wrong?" Breck asked. Dr. Shale spoke up. Then we all die very quickly. But if we're right, we solve the energy crisis affecting half the galaxy. Breck thought for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Do it, but evacuate everyone to minimum safe distance first. They worked for 2 more days, preparing. The station moved away from the ship, connected only by a long tether and remote controls. Only Dr. Chen, Dr. Shale, Dr. Thalen, and Rick remained in the research bay. They wore emergency evacuation suits, ready to escape in seconds if something went wrong. Ready? Chen asked. Everyone nodded, though they all looked afraid. Chen activated the sequence. It was complex, using techniques from his memories combined with Zelkari precision engineering. The reservoir's surface began to shimmer. Lights appeared within the material, flowing like water. It's working, Dr. Thalen breathed. Slowly, carefully, a small opening formed in the reservoir's surface. It was only 5 centimeters wide, but it was enough. They pointed sensors at the opening. Data flooded their screens. What is that? Rick whispered. Inside the reservoir, they could see the fuel. But it wasn't liquid. It wasn't gas. It was crystalline structures, geometric shapes that glowed with their own light. The crystals were beautiful, like frozen starlight. But they were wrong. Wrong in a way that hurt to look at. The shapes didn't follow normal geometry. They existed in dimensions that shouldn't be there. It's pulling energy from dimensional boundaries, Dr. Chen said, his voice full of wonder. It's feeding on the fabric of space itself, and it's growing, Dr. Shale finished. They watched in amazement as new crystals formed inside the reservoir. Slowly, infinitely slowly, but definitely growing. 300 years, Chen whispered. For 300 years, this fuel has been growing, accumulating energy. No wonder the reservoir is still full. It's generating more than it loses. This is a renewable energy source, Dr. Thalen said. Truly renewable. It creates itself. They stared at the impossible crystals, understanding what they had found. Humans, desperate and crude and foolish, had discovered something no other species had thought to look for. They had found infinity. The crew, Dr. Shale said suddenly. Did they know? Did they understand what they created? Dr. Chen accessed the logs again. This time, with the reservoir partially open, more data became available. A new file appeared on his screen, a message from the original captain. He opened it, and they all read together. If you're reading this, we succeeded. The fuel is stable. The containment works. We won't make it home. Life support is failing. But we've left you everything you need. All the data, all the instructions. Use it wisely. Use it well. Make our sacrifice mean something. Signed, Captain Sarah Martinez, Prometheus 6. Dr. Chen felt tears on his old face. After 300 years, he finally knew. They hadn't failed. Far inside the reservoir, the crystals pulsed with light. Something was changing. Something was waking up completely. The ancient ship's AI stirred, responding to the breach in containment. Deep in the code, an alarm began to count down. The crystalline fuel changed everything. Within hours, news spread across the galaxy. An ancient human ship, a fuel source that renewed itself, energy that came from nothing, from the spaces between dimensions. Ships began arriving at Station Corvallis. Scientists, politicians, military officers, everyone wanted to see the impossible crystals with their own eyes. Dr. Chen and Dr. Shale worked day and night, studying the fuel. The more they learned, the more amazed they became. Look at this, Dr. Shale said, showing Chen a scan. The crystals exist in multiple quantum states at the same time. They're here, but also not here. They're touching other dimensions. Other species studied quantum mechanics for thousands of years, Chen said. Why didn't they discover this? Dr. Thalen, who was listening, had an answer. Because we never thought to look in these specific places. The mathematics suggested it was impossible, so we didn't try. But humans tried anyway, Rick said. Yes, Chen smiled. We were too ignorant to know it was impossible. So we did it anyway. On the third day after the breakthrough, representatives from the Galactic Consortium arrived. The consortium governed most of known space. It made laws. It settled disputes. It maintained peace between hundreds of species. When the consortium spoke, people listened. Ambassador Kelvin represented the Thex people. He was large and intimidating, with dark scales and sharp eyes. He brought military escorts. Ambassador Yira represented the Corvani. She was elegant and cold, her silver skin gleaming under the station lights. She brought legal advisors. High Speaker Morn represented the Zelkari. He was old and wise. His scales faded to gray. He brought scientists. They gathered in the station's council chamber. It was a large room with a round table. Everyone could see everyone else. This discovery belongs to all species, Ambassador Kelvin said firmly. It's too important to be controlled by one group. We agree, said Yira. The technology should be shared equally through the consortium. Captain Venn stood up. It was my crew who found it. It's our salvage claim. Salvage rights don't apply to something this dangerous, Kelvin replied. This fuel could destroy planets. It needs to be controlled. Or destroyed, said General Thark, a Thex military commander. We should eliminate it before someone weaponizes it. Destroy it? Dr. Shale's voice was sharp. Do you understand what you're suggesting? This could end the energy crisis on 1,000 worlds. It could also end those worlds entirely, Thark shot back. Humans created this without understanding it. It was luck it didn't explode 300 years ago. We can't trust luck forever. Arguments filled the room. Different species, different opinions, different fears. Dr. Chen sat quietly, listening. He had heard these arguments before, 300 years ago, when the Prometheus Initiative was debated. Fear always spoke louder than hope. Finally, he stood up. The room went quiet. Everyone knew who he was, the last survivor of the original project. May I speak? Chen asked. High Speaker Morn nodded. Please, Dr. Chen. Chen's voice was soft but clear. I was young when we built these ships. I watched friends die in the explosions. I carried guilt for 3 centuries, believing our work killed people for nothing. He paused. But now I understand. We didn't fail. We succeeded. And we succeeded because we were human. What does that mean? Yira asked. Humans arrived late to the galactic community, Chen explained. We had primitive technology. We barely understood FTL travel, but we had something others didn't. We had desperation, yes, but also a unique perspective. He brought up an image of Earth on the main screen. Earth sits near a gravitational anomaly, Chen continued. Space-time is slightly warped in our system. It's small, barely noticeable, but it meant human physicists naturally thought about spatial irregularities. We grew up in bent space, so we understood it intuitively. Dr. Thalen leaned forward, interested. You mean other species couldn't discover this because their homeworlds were too normal? Exactly, Chen said. The Corvani evolved on a planet with perfect dimensional constants. Your physics is elegant and precise. The Thex developed near a stable star system. Your engineering is flawless. The Zelkari had predictable tidal forces. Your mathematics is beautiful. He smiled. But humans? We lived near chaos. Our moon creates strange tides. Our sun has unusual fluctuations. Our position in space is messy. So we learned to think in messy ways. We looked where others never thought to look. The room was silent. Every species in the consortium contributed something unique, Dr. Shale added, standing beside Chen. The Zelkari gave us precision engineering. Without Rick's people, we couldn't have opened the reservoir safely. The Thex provided strength and endurance. The Corvani shared dimensional mathematics that helped us understand the crystals. She looked around the table. Humanity's contribution is different. We try impossible things. We explore dangerous ideas. We ask what if when others say, why bother? That's our gift to the galaxy. A dangerous gift, Kelvin muttered. Yes, Dr. Shale agreed, but necessary. Every great discovery was dangerous. Every advancement required risk. You can destroy this fuel if you want. You can eliminate the danger, but you'll also eliminate the possibility. While the politicians argued, something was happening on the old ship. The reservoir, now partially open, was becoming more active. The crystals pulsed faster. Energy readings climbed higher. Rick was monitoring the systems when he noticed the change. Dr. Chen! Dr. Shale, you need to see this! They rushed to the research bay, leaving the politicians behind. The ship's lights were turning on. One by one, systems that had been dead for 300 years were coming back to life. Computer screens flickered. Circuits sparked. The ancient vessel was waking up. What's happening? Dr. Shale asked. The reservoir, Rick said, pointing at his readings. It's feeding power to the ship. The AI is activating. On the main computer screen, text began to appear. Slowly at first, then faster. Lines of code scrolled past. Diagnostic reports, system checks, memory files. Then a single message appeared. Prometheus 6 AI system. Online status. Critical reservoir at 94% capacity, maximum safe capacity, 95% warning, controlled discharge required time to critical failure, 72 hours. Dr. Chen's face went pale. Oh no. What does it mean? Rick asked. It means, Chen said slowly, that for 300 years the reservoir has been filling itself, growing, accumulating energy. It's almost at maximum capacity. And if it reaches maximum? Dr. Shale asked, though she already knew the answer. The AI answered for them. New text appeared on the screen. If capacity exceeds 95%, containment will fail. Estimated blast radius, 150,000 kilometers. Recommendation, initiate emergency discharge protocol or evacuate sector immediately. They stared at the screen. They had 72 hours to save the station, or 72 hours to run. 72 hours. Commander Breck ordered an immediate evacuation. Everyone off the station! Now! This is not a discussion! Thousands of people began leaving. Ships undocked in waves, fleeing to safe distances. Within 12 hours, Station Corvallis was nearly empty, but Dr. Chen refused to leave. I ran away once, he said quietly. 300 years ago, when the project failed. I won't run again. Dr. Shale stood beside him. I'm staying too. As am I, said Dr. Thalen. Rick nodded. My people built the tools that opened the reservoir. We'll help finish this. Commander Breck looked at them. One old human, one determined woman, one Corvani scientist, one young Zelkari engineer. You'll die if this fails. Then we die trying, Dr. Shale said simply. Breck sighed. What do you need? Time, Chen said. And the ship's complete AI system. There has to be a solution in there. The original crew wouldn't have left this problem without an answer. They worked in the empty station, alone except for security drones and the distant stars. Dr. Chen accessed the AI's deeper files. The system was old and damaged, but it still remembered. It had waited 300 years to share its secrets. There's a controlled discharge protocol, Chen said, reading the data. But it requires specific equipment. We need to drain the reservoir slowly, converting the energy into a usable form. Do we have that equipment? Dr. Shale asked. No, Chen admitted. But we can build it. The AI has complete schematics. They worked through the first day and night. Dr. Thalen designed the energy converter using Corvani mathematics. Rick fabricated the parts using Zelkari precision tools. Dr. Shale programmed the control systems. Dr. Chen guided them, remembering techniques from centuries ago. 48 hours remaining. The converter was ready. They attached it to the reservoir's opening. It hummed with power as they activated it. "Starting discharge," Rick announced. Energy flowed from the reservoir into the converter. The crystalline fuel began to shrink, slowly releasing its power. Numbers on the screen showed the capacity dropping. 94%, 93.8%, 93.5%. "It's working," Dr. Shale breathed. But the process was slow, too slow. 24 hours remaining, capacity at 91%. They needed more time, or a faster method. Dr. Chen studied the AI files again, desperately searching. Then he found something, a personal log from Captain Sarah Martinez. He played it for the others. A woman's voice filled the room, speaking across 3 centuries. "This is Captain Martinez, final log entry. We know we're not going home. Life support is failing. The crew made a choice. We could have triggered the emergency discharge when we first realized the problem. It would have sent us flying, probably killed us from the acceleration, but it would have emptied the reservoir." The recording paused. They heard her take a shaky breath. "Instead, we chose differently. We sealed ourselves in cryo-sleep. We set the ship adrift in a specific location. We programmed the AI to wait until salvage technology became advanced enough to detect the reservoir's energy signature. We calculated it would take about 300 years. Another pause. "We're sacrificing ourselves, yes, but not stupidly. We're leaving everything you need. All the schematics, all the instructions, the discharge protocol, the replication process, everything. Because we have to believe, that someone will be smart enough to figure it out. That someone will care enough to try." Her voice grew stronger. "We failed a lot before this. We watched friends die. We made terrible mistakes. But this time, we got it right. This fuel can change everything. It can power worlds. It can end energy shortages. It can give everyone a chance at a better life. Use it wisely. Use it well. Make our sacrifice mean something. Captain Sarah Martinez, Prometheus 6, signing off." The recording ended. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Dr. Chen smiled. "She told us what to do." "What?" Dr. Shale asked. "Emergency discharge. The crew could have done it, but they died instead. But we're not in the ship. We can trigger it remotely and let the energy disperse safely into space." "The blast radius," Dr. Thalen started. "We'll go outward," Chen interrupted. "Away from the station. We just need to aim the ship correctly." 12 hours remaining. They worked frantically, repositioning the old ship. They aimed it away from Station Corvallis, away from any inhabited systems. They programmed the emergency discharge sequence. "Ready?" Chen asked. Everyone nodded. "Initiating discharge in 3, 2, 1, now." The reservoir erupted. Energy burst from the old ship in a column of brilliant light. It shot through space like a newborn star, bright and beautiful and terrible. The force pushed the ship backward, sending it tumbling away. They watched on their screens as 300 years of accumulated energy flowed out into the empty void. The crystals inside the reservoir dissolved, releasing everything they had stored. It lasted for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of impossible light. Then it was over. The reservoir was empty. The ship was dark again. But now they had all the data, every measurement, every reading, everything they needed to replicate the technology safely. "We did it," Dr. Shale whispered. Dr. Chen sat down slowly, exhausted but smiling. "Yes, we did." 6 months later. The energy crisis ended. Using the Prometheus 6 schematics, the consortium built safe fuel generation stations across the galaxy. Rim worlds that had struggled with power shortages now had more energy than they needed. Prices dropped. Quality of life improved. The technology was shared freely. Every species contributed. The Zelkari refined the engineering. The Corvani perfected the mathematics. The Theks provided security protocols, and humans kept exploring, kept asking, what if? The original Prometheus 6 was moved to Earth orbit. It became a memorial, a reminder of Captain Martinez and her crew. People came from across the galaxy to see it, the crude little ship that changed everything. Dr. Chen stood before the memorial on his last day. He was 340 years old. His body was failing, but his heart was light. "Thank you, Sarah," he whispered to the stars. "You were right. Someone figured it out." Far away, in a different part of the outer veil, another old ship drifted through the darkness. A salvage crew spotted it on their scanners. "Captain, we found something, an ancient human vessel." The captain studied the readings. The ship was old, very old, and it had a massive fuel reservoir. The name on the hull was barely visible, worn by centuries of space dust. Prometheus II. And somewhere inside, something began to pulse. Slow and steady. Like a heartbeat, like something waiting to be found.